Classic loaf. I bet you're wondering what OKR has to do with dog food, and I promise you I'm going to make that very clear in a moment. Who is this video for? It's for people where you're working on an initiative or a project or a product and you're not actually implementing this quarter. And so you're scratching your head wondering, how do I get meaningful OKRs when I can't actually measure the impact of my work this quarter? Stick with me to the end because I'm going to give you some very specific measures that you can apply right now to get crystal clear on what does success look like and actually start measuring that success in a way that focuses the team on achieving the right outcome. So where does the term dog fooding come from? It was popularized by product management teams who were really trying to use their products internally. But I'll come back to that in a moment. Where it actually came from is quite funny. It's a dog food company that was called Calcan Pet Food. And the chairman was known to basically have their annual meeting and they would get everyone in the business, and in front of everyone, he would eat their own dog food. Now, this is because he backed the quality and believed in the product so much that he was happy to eat it. Now, what does this mean for product teams? Well, it might mean that we're using the product internally to do some lessons and learnings around what works and what doesn't work around the product. It's going to be helping us understand, is it set and ready for market? Now, ideally, you're going to want to put your product into market as quickly as possible so you can see that value and get those early wins. The reality is, if you're concerned about competitors moving fast and cutting your lunch, it's not going to happen. Most companies just don't move that fast. There are certain situations where this does apply though, and I'll give you a good example. So Spotify recently launched their audiobook collection, basically fighting up against Audible. Now, if they did some sort of early release, even what we call a painted door experiment where, they might include the button in an app and see if people are wanting to access that part of the app, you'd be going up against Amazon, who have a lot of money and would be putting everything they could into creating a product that would disrupt your model before you'd even launched. So in those sort of examples, maybe you're going to want to hold off and check out the product internally. Now, this gives you a bit of a problem. How do we measure success? We want to know and validate that anything that we're doing is actually going to drive a real outcome. We don't want to fall into the trap of just do this thing and it should be fine. We always want to come back to the outcome. So how do we do that with OKRs? Now, if you're watching this video, I'm guessing you already know a little bit about OKRs, or objectives and key results, but let's just quickly break it down. You've got a really clear objective, a statement of what you want to achieve, and the key results, the measures of progress that are actually telling you you're achieving that outcome. Not to-do lists, not a list of things to release, but measurable outcomes. So how do we do that when we're actually not going out to market? This is where OKR Dogfooding comes in. We want to take an internal view. So it might be our own team or it might be other teams that we're working with. We want to be using that as a way to gauge sentiment towards the outcome. Thinking about how Spotify would have tackled this internally, they would have had very clear outcomes they're trying to achieve, measurable success metrics that they would know when they go to market, they'd want to see this level of adoption. But there are experience-based measures they could use internally. These could be things like satisfaction. It could be things like ease of and speed of getting access to certain books. It could be around the search feature. How responsive is it? What sort of capabilities does it have? Can I find a book regardless of what information I'm putting into it? Can I find it quickly with a simple search? There's all these different measures that they could have had in there that would actually give them real numbers. We want to be able to see a satisfaction score of 5 out of 5. Maybe that's what we want to go for. The ease of finding books. A way to measure that could be the average time it takes someone to find a book. It could also be just an effort score. What sort of effort is it to find those books? Now, you could release this product internally in the business and see how do those numbers move and survey people. Don't overcomplicate it. You could literally sit down with people and write their feedback down on a piece of paper and get a score that way. Those are simple ways to do it. So that is going to be one of the key ways that you can measure the success of what you're doing. It's going to be sentiment. As an example, let's say you're building an API. You're a platform team and you're building a piece of infrastructure that other teams are going to be leveraging in their own products. Now, let's say you've tried having the argument where they could integrate early and do some early experimentations. You don't want to let the need for a measurable OKR to force you into a corner of writing a crappy OKR for a product, right? If you're not releasing this quarter, you don't want to go down that path. But you also don't want to have a to-do list, build this feature, build another feature, have an MVP. Those aren't good key results. But what we can do is talk about what's the outcome we're looking for. As an example, let's say we have a key result where we want our customers to recommend our product to other people. Now, that might be because we're building in some sort of recommendation engine or a little share app or something like that. If we're not releasing that this quarter, again, I struggle to imagine a situation where you wouldn't be able to release within a quarter, but let's say you're in that situation. The question is, are we confident as a team that they will refer and recommend our product? So I would actually have this as a confidence score rating as one of my key results. Now, what's that going to do? Well, yes, we've got to build the recommendation feature so that we can share our product and maybe they get a bonus credit or something like that for sharing. We can build that. But how do we know that's actually going to drive the right behavior? By having these sort of discussions, we might go, we're going to build this feature, but you know what? This part of the app is really, really clunky. And I think because of that, people aren't going to recommend our product. So in that scenario, the initiatives you're going to take on to make that happen is building that part of the app, to actually share the product, but also you're going to want to fix the things that aren't working so well that are actually going to make a better experience. So again, it's not about building the feature, it's about the outcome. And so by having a confidence score, and literally I am 0% confident all the way up to 100% confident. The reality is within a quarter, until you put your product down to market, there's no way you're going to be 100% confident. But maybe you can get to pretty close. Maybe you can do some testing. You see that, this experience is looking much better. You might want to do some testing with real life customers, get some feedback. Yep, this looks like we're heading down the right direction. I'm feeling like we're at an 80% confidence level. Now, this is the thing. It's about driving the behavior so that we're working towards the outcome, not just doing the thing. Because otherwise we fall into the trap of just getting work done and not actually making an impact. And the reality is that's how businesses stagnate and that's how teams stagnate. You've got to be trying to make an impact and drive a result. So those are the two scenarios that I've shared with you, confidence and sentiment. So there you are, gang. OKR Dogfooding. If you feel like this has helped you unlock some good measurable outcomes that you can measure where previously you might not have been able to do so, then drop a comment below on how you're going to do it. And if you've got any questions, also drop them there because I'll be sure to respond. If you want to hear more about building high-performing teams, creating crystal clear strategy, and using OKRs to unlock growth for your business, then hit subscribe because I've got loads more content coming. If you thought this was great, give me a thumbs up. It's going to be great feedback for me. I'm going to help me understand what sort of content you want to have and any other sort of improvements. But also, if you disliked it, go ahead and give me a dislike. Wonderful feedback for me to make a decision on. I can always work out how I can hone this better for you. Team, I hope you got heaps of value out of that. It's late here, so it's time for dinner. Yum.